What it do, everybody, and welcome back to the 10th episode of the Naus cEDH podcast, LGS support and the lack thereof. My name is Kian, better known as Varlas, and I will be your host today. Joining me, as always, is my co-host, Adam, better known as Poppyphobia.
What's going on, everybody?
Sam, better known as Knight.
Hello.
And AJ, better known as Frog.
What's up, everybody?
Today's topic is all about LGS support for cEDH, how we think store owners can better support the competitive Commander scene, and what we as cEDH players look for in an LGS. But before we get started, we have a few triggers to resolve in our upkeep. Adam, take it away.
All right, so to start with, first we're going to shout out all of our high-tier patrons. Thank you to Usable Object, Cold Ramen, and Geo Justin, respectively. It's thanks to people like you that we can continue to do this show. If you would like to become a patron and get the special perks that it provides, you can find our Patreon link in the description. In upcoming tournaments, I, Adam, will be attending Punt City August 27th and 29th in Phoenixville, Pennsylvania. Along with that, some of the Naus team members will also be attending November Oktoberfest, November 18th through 20th in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Punt City has already sold out, but Oktoberfest tickets have gone on sale for patrons only, and full release will be starting soon. As you are listening to this podcast episode, I am probably playing or finishing my last MLC game representing Naus. And what a great job I did representing the team with all of the wins that I got.
So many wins, it's unbelievable.
I would like to less than -2.
Yes, I would like to thank you. I'd like to say thank you to Callahan for letting me join the MLC as a substitute for Rebel. Hopefully next year I can be a part of it from the start and draft my own list. Maybe even more than just me from the channel. Hint, hint, wink, wink, if you know what I'm saying. But until then, you can catch me casting the remaining games working over at Monarch Media. In regards to content, we are now available on all major podcast platforms, YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. We're also working on bringing some collaborations to the podcast in the future, along with some gameplay content soon. If any content creators are listening and would like to join us for an episode in the future, please reach out to us through Twitter or Discord. Speaking of our Discord, we have finally passed the 100-member mark, which is amazing for our little community. Woo! To celebrate, we are going to have our first Discord giveaway. We are going to be giving away Double Masters 2022 to our Discord members, raffling off collector boosters to patrons and draft boosters for all other members. To be eligible for the raffle and to find out more information, join our Discord below, and thank you again for all your support. Speaking of support, we are 8 subscribers away from hitting 150 on YouTube, so please share us with your friends. And finally, don't forget to drop a like, leave a comment, or write us a review on whatever platform you're listening on. Join our Discord if you want to engage with us more, talk about our latest episodes, or just ask us questions about the format of cEDH. We will put the link in the description. Now for our main phase. So, for today's topic, we are discussing LGS support for cEDH and the lack thereof. We have a plethora of questions to ask each other regarding how your LGS can help us grow the game. We come from a very privileged area where cEDH seems to fire everywhere, but we know that that's not the case for everyone. So how can we as players help local game stores to recognize and support cEDH as a format? Well, I think I will get us started. So, for our first question regarding today's topic, I want you guys to think about, do you guys think that stores do enough to support cEDH as one of the fastest growing formats in Magic? I asked this question because there's been a lot of discourse lately, kind of all over social media, with legacy players kind of coming into the format and people saying that like they play EDH and then they want to take it to the next level and go to cEDH. It seems like this is the fastest growing format that exists like right outside of Pioneer. And so the problem is that because this format isn't really recognized by WotC, game stores don't really support it. They'd rather support a format like Pioneer that's sanctioned and has all these events and things that go on for it. cEDH doesn't really have that. So do you think that game stores are doing enough to help support cEDH? Because in my opinion, where we are, they do quite a bit. But from what I hear from other people in other states and other areas, even around the world, is that game stores kind of just shy away from cEDH and they kind of want to stay away from it. They don't really want to support it in general. So I was curious on like what you guys thought about that or how you guys view LGSs and what they do for this format.
Yeah, well, we in the Milwaukee area, like we have kind of a skewed perspective on that because like I don't know. There's probably, I would say, at least half of the local game stores offer some day of the week where there's a cEDH event that you can get involved in, various payout. I don't think, at least in our area, that stores aren't doing enough to support the formats. I think a lot of it actually falls on like the player base. So if you're a player and you like CDH and you want your LGS to support it, you kind of gotta, tell them, maybe bring in some friends, work out, hey, if we all pay you $5, can you fire some pods and then give us store credit and stuff like that. So I think a lot of it, at least for now, until it's recognized by Wizards, if that happens, hopefully it does, it's gonna fall on the player base a little bit to bring it up.
Yeah, I mean that makes a lot of sense. I think though that also like stores have to be willing and able, right? Yeah. So I think that because of like a lot of the like the stigmas that come with the format, I think a lot of like the proxy rules, things like that, they all take a factor in what a store is willing to support. And I think that a lot of store owners themselves aren't really into the idea of competitive Commander, because to a lot of them, these guys are old dudes or ladies that own these stores that have been playing the game for a long time. They don't view EDH as a competitive format.
Right.
Yeah, and it's rough from a store perspective too to do something like that, because it's not sanctioned, like we said, it's not sanctioned by Wizards. So they might not get product for it, like promos. Like I know that most of our local stores do promo stuff, where it's like you get a promo if you're in the event, or you get a promo if you win, or something of that effect. And like not being sponsored by Wizards to do that brings down people from actually going to those events.
Yeah,
because a lot's on the store owner's shoulders to like provide those things because they're not getting it.
Where we play, like in a lot of places we play, the cEDH is the more popular event that happens at the store. So what our store owners do is they will launch cEDH nights on Fridays, so the people that play get their F&M promos, so the people that play get their promo packs and stuff like that, because they want to incorporate it into
an event.
Yeah, they consider it a real event, even though WotC won't support the promos for that event, right? Like, I know that the RC or the CAG just released a new update where they said, like, there should be no price support for Commander at all, because they don't think that you should be competing when playing Commander. Which, like, to us is like the complete opposite of what we want to see. We want
funny jokes, guys.
Then you're better off sitting in a basement, just, you buy a pack a person, and then you come to your basement, you put it down. There's no reason to go to a game store at that point.
Yeah, and I think that for us, like, because we're fueled by that competitive side of the format, it's nice to show up to a place, get a promo just for playing, and then competing for money as well, or store credit.
Like, the promo is nice, but it boils down to is like the pot of money that you get. Everybody puts in like the $5, and then you get $20 or whatever our LGS does.
It also does bring up the power level of players, like the thought process behind it, because now you have something to actually work for, rather than it just being, I've heard this from a couple people that we play with occasionally, is what is cEDH without a prize pool? Then it's just casual Commander.
Yeah.
And that brings more money into the LGS. So I think every store owner if you have a player base that's interested, like, you should go for it.
You're incentivized to do it.
Yeah, 100%. Because those people, if you're playing cEDH, you're a person that has an expendable amount of income for a format of Magic. Like a pretty big amount of money just to get your list assembled.
Optimized.
So yeah, you're gonna wanna play and support your LGS with physical dollars.
And I think that our local LGSs, I like you guys touched on, I think we have we're skewed, obviously, because every place like kind of caters to us. Like, we ask them, hey, can you do this event at like the one that we go to on Fridays? They're like, okay, sure, yeah, bet. Okay, just give us money and then we'll run pods for you.
Well, like just yesterday,
or make a
right?
Facebook post.
Well, just yesterday we had the largest turnout that we've had for a while, and they're like, "Do you guys want to do 2 rounds and like put more money on the line?" And we're like, "Yeah, let's go! Like we'll bet more money. We don't care. We want to play.
We like to gamble."
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I think that the game stores in our area do enough, right?
Yeah.
But I think when talking with other people from other regions, they've expressed that they do not.
They don't do enough, and that's why I think Spell Table is so big, because people don't get to go out and actually play the game, especially with COVID. And now people are like, why would I leave my house to go to an event that maybe fires when I can just sit at my house and play on Spell Table
and get an event that actually fires?
Well, like for a really good example, right? We had an LGS that we wanted to do Pauper events at. Yeah. And we were like, hey, do you guys want to run Pauper? And immediately they were like, well, there's not a lot of money in Pauper. We don't think there's enough support for it. We don't really want to run it. They're like, but if you guys think you want to host the event, then sure, we'll put it. And so we're like, okay, well, we want to, run this event. Will you guys, as the store, advertise for us and put it out on Facebook and let people know that this event's happening? And they never did that. Like they
did it once.
They did it for the first event, and then they never did it again. And that event has slowly kind of just died because the store,
there was no one there keeping it alive.
The store isn't doing its job to try to advertise or help support that community. And I think the same goes for cEDH, right? Like you'll see a store that might put on an event night, right? Because most stores have like, hey, this is our schedule, and on their schedule they'll have like Saturdays are Commander night, you know what I mean, or cEDH night. But like if that's all you have on there, that's not enough to get people to come and play the game. And I think that a lot of stores could do more of that to try to help grow the format, because I think it helps grow their player base in their store as well.
Yeah.
It helps create that positive atmosphere.
And I think it's really harmful for newer players to this format because they don't know where to go, but they want to sit down and actually play with people. And if you don't advertise that, then how do you know where to go?
Or yeah, like on Monday at another store we play at, we had someone come in and they were like, hey, I'm here for the Commander event. And they were like, okay, well, have you ever played cEDH before? And because it says competitive Commander on the event. And she's like, I've never played Commander before. And it was like, what? Wait, what? And you're coming, this is going to be your first experience and you're playing cEDH. And so we had to sit down and talk with her and be like, hey, like we understand like what you came to expect. We're going to let you know ahead of time. It's not going to be what you're expecting. I was like, if you still want to play, you can play, but I'm warning you in advance that this is very high level and very high power, and it might be a bad experience for you.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot to keep track of for a new brain.
Yeah, so then after we were done with the games, we were like, hey, we're going to take you, pull you aside, and we're going to play casual with you, and we're going to show you what Commander's really like, And then if you don't like the casual side and you're more interested in that competitive side that you already played, we can help you get into that format. But, otherwise, we don't want you to get a bad experience right off the bat. And it's like, why did we have to do that?
When the game store should have...
The game store should be clarifying that, or the game store should be offering that type of support.
Well, that's because we them boys. That's what we do.
We them boys.
Well, something else, too, that I think is, like, kind of, like, frustrates me sometimes is, like, back in the day when I used to play when I was younger, I remember there was a judge in every game store.
Yeah.
I remember every game store I'd go to, there was always a judge present that you could ask a question to or try to get advice from.
Or just talk up and be like, hey, how's it going? I have a question. What's this deck about?
The committee stopped supplying, like, benefits to judges. There's, like, no... Like, if you want to be a judge now, it's because you want to be a judge. You don't gain anything.
You don't get anything from it, yeah.
I mean, judges promos.
Well, as a store, and I think that this is different for everybody, but like
once every 4 years or whatever.
Hey, that's all you need,
from
baby.
From what I remember, stores used to employ a judge, and like for $10 an hour or whatever the wage was,
or an employee at the store was
incentivized to become a judge.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. Which now I don't see any judges at any events unless it's an actual tournament that's being sanctioned. So it's
any store judges, any people that are at the store that are also judges.
Because any people employed by because we have judges that come to our events that play. Yeah, but it's just like they're not there to judge, they're there to play, and it's
you don't want to have to pull that guy from his game. Like, hey, can you go answer a question?
Yeah, whatever. I mean, I think as a judge, they're going to do that regardless, right? Because they're good people. But yeah, it's just like whatever happened to that sense of community that a game store would provide, right? And so I miss those times where like I could just call a judge and Adam from the store, who's a level 1 judge, would come over and ask her a question or answer a question. That I think also helps support this format in a way that's hugely underrepresented, because when you're playing in a game, when you have a judge question, you don't want the store owner to make an assumption. Right. That's what I hate is when you call for a judge and the store owner is acting as a judge and they have to read the card. They've never seen the card. They don't know how the triggers work. They ask you for advice, like, well, what do you think that? It's like, wait. That's not why I called you.
Asking me?
Yeah,
I'm the one calling you.
Half the time, I don't even see. So when I see or notice a store owner doing something like that, I don't even see them going on the Gatherer. Like,
no, they're just making an assumption.
They just go,
based on
well, this is what I think.
And when someone who does have the knowledge, right, to say, well, wait, that trigger goes on the stack and blah, 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 blah. Like, sometimes they get really combative. And they're like, well, it's my store, and this is what I say. You know what I mean? And it kind of creates a negative atmosphere. And I think that if stores did little things like that, maybe that's not so little, hiring an entire person, but like
incentivizing
That's like having a
employee
fight
already.
without a ref.
Yeah.
It's literally like having a UFC fight without a ref.
Yeah,
Or like creating not a program, but incentivizing your existing employees to take the judge test.
Yeah,
or study
give them
for a little bit.
an
Like,
extra $2 an hour to go become a judge. That's amazing.
Or just pay the
Or
upfront cost
literally,
of them
yeah.
learning and them actually getting the test.
Oh, like
pay
I
for
would-
them, pay
like,
$100 to
kick-
take the test.
Because like
yeah.
it's not that bad,
No,
really.
because Kevin recently
Kevin-
just took the
yeah.
test, and we have to ask him. But it took him like I think 2 months to get all the all the modules done.
Yeah, and I mean
So,
it's nothing crazy.
not that hard.
The hardest part is getting a level 2 judge to officiate
yeah.
you as a level 1 judge.
Yeah, finding someone who will do it.
It's like a sponsorship.
We're
yeah.
actually pretty lucky. We do have,
We have
a level 2 judge around
Yeah,
here,
and
So-
he's really nice.
He's a really nice
we have
guy.
multiple level 2 judges in the community that hang around, so it's nice to have that. But yeah, I
What,
think
are you a level 2 judge?
no, but
Oh,
what are you talking about?
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. I can't think of his name right now.
Yeah, he did the Midwest Gaming Classic
Yeah.
with us. Yeah.
yeah, James.
Yeah, James. So we have James, we have Eric. We
Yeah,
have plenty of
I'm
people in the
messing with
community. Anyways,
Judge Adam on the case.
well, I play enough Judges Tower. I might as well be a
Oh,
judge.
I missed 3 Ishai triggers. I get them back now.
So, anyways, yeah, I was just curious on what your guys' thoughts were when it came to like, does the LGS do enough for the community? Because I think they could definitely do better.
I think they could do better, but I think we are light years ahead, at least in this area, than any other area. Like mostly in the United States.
From what I understand,
from what we hear,
we have like 5 game stores in our area that all launch CEDH, and we can go 5 days a week.
completely different
Yeah,
events.
different days.
They've purposely talked to each other and scheduled their
Staggered
CEDH
the
events on
yeah.
different days
Yeah,
so everybody can play.
Or we can just pull up a gang. Hey, meet at this location this time. Would at least get 8 people.
yeah,
So-
which is crazy for our area.
We are the 8 people. Most
Exactly.
Of the time.
That's what I'm saying.
Bare minimum 8.
I remember pre-COVID, I used to go 4 days a week for competitive EDH, and I used to go 3 days a week for standard. I was playing Magic 7 days a week at one point because of how many game stores and how many events were launching. And it's crazy that we can still even go 3-4 days a week still.
Yeah, it
It's
sounds
just-
to me like you need to get a life.
Yeah, nice problem. nice problem to have though. Like,
Yeah.
if you like
I
like
play too
magic,
much
nice problem to have. No such thing.
Excuse me, Mr. Shrink, I need help. I play too much Magic.
Play too much Magic.
So I think everything that we just talked about kind of sounds like it's kind of a package deal. So if like an LGS is going to say, hey, I'm going to get into CDH because I think it's a growing format, like you probably should have a judge. You probably should incentivize the players through prize support with store credit. You probably should have, I don't want to say a steep entry fee, but an entry fee that will at least attract these like higher tier
$5
an
or something.
inventory of cards that encourages like high-end players to come and play. 'cause
Like
this is
RL cards or
having cards on the reserve list in your store that are available to be purchased.
Do a big event, play for a wheel. Someone
Yeah.
doesn't have a wheel, but you allow proxies. Well, guess what? Now they got a wheel. You know?
So stuff like that, yeah, like if you incentivize your players to play as a store, players will come and play.
Yeah.
But you got to do the package.
you have to-
You can't just go, yeah, we're gonna do CDH and not have a judge.
And you have to do the advertising because people aren't going to know.
That's
So
the
I
thing.
don't think they're doing enough. I think they could do more, but our area, I think that they're doing
Pretty
they're
good.
they're
doing
doing
well.
decent.
pretty. They're
Yeah.
doing
It's
yeah,
nice.
good
I
enough
agree.
where we're playing for sure. Sam, I think you kind of got the next topic.
So what do you guys look for in an LGS when determining where to go to play? I mean, obviously we're all probably looking like, do you guys host CDH events? Because like that's number one on my bucket list. So my answer for that is I look for the formats represented. Like what formats do you support? Do you have a player base established already? If not, are you close enough to having an established player base that if I start coming in every week and bringing a friend, are we going to be able to fire an event? So for me, it's like, do the events that I want to play fire? That's what I look for the most. What about you, AJ?
I look for food in the area, actually.
Food in the area?
Well, because
You're going to be spending like 6 hours there. You might as well get
food in
food.
the
Because
area.
like one of the places that we go is
just
actually it's a restaurant, bar, and a game store all in one, and it's great. They don't always fire events, but again, that's not exactly what I'm looking for. So like I'm looking for food, I'm looking for drinks and stuff like that, because if I'm gonna be there, 6-7 hours, I'm gonna be hungry, I'm gonna be thirsty.
I just love that you pick something that's like almost completely out of the LGS's hands. You're like, if you can't get a good location.
That question took a left turn fast.
No, there's a huge thing there, because like all the game stores that we go to have they have the soda cooler, they have the little snack containers.
It's the amenities.
I can only eat Cheez-It so many times before I want a burger.
But the one LGS is like in the middle of like a really good area, and then the one LGS is actually just a food and drink LGS, and most of the LGSs are in the middle of like actual like towns where you can literally walk across the street and there's
or like on a highway or like
in a strip mall where there's a little Chinese restaurant next door or something.
It's just like, if you ain't got onion rings, I ain't coming.
Man,
but we fired CDH here with 20 people. You got onion rings, bro.
No. I mean, like, it's not specifically that, obviously.
Yeah, it's fries too and burgers.
Yeah.
All right. Sad Naus food truck. We'll go to any event and we will supply food in the parking lot.
Then you don't even need to care about location.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that's completely out of the LGS's hands, but it does help that they have like drinks, like a drink cooler and like snacks. Like, I mean, small bags of chips or something.
That's pretty
like,
standard. I feel like
it is pretty standard.
But some places don't have it. But I think that like, it makes sense, right? We're going to go and we're going to sit at your store for 8 hours, have some comfortable chairs, have a nice table to play at. And
that too.
Like, let's
a good table.
have some food and drink.
And you don't need
chairs are far more important than a table at a game store. I don't mind a white folding like lawn table as long as the chairs are nice, comfortable chairs. I'm going to be sitting there for 8 hours. The table, You
don't want any of the folding steel?
No, I'll pass on that.
I like the steel ones that have like the back cushion and the butt.
At least having a cushion. Yeah, at least have a cushion on your chairs.
So, what do you look for, Kian? What do you look at?
Well, besides the obvious, you guys got CDH here? I tend to look for the atmosphere of the LGS. I know a couple of ours are kind of sketchy. I don't. A little bit.
They don't look the greatest.
I go there for the players, not the store. Yeah.
I go there to take their money. But what ties into environment a little bit, I think is it a family friendly store or is it not a family friendly store? Because I think the vibes and like the general atmosphere and like welcoming of like the employees and general audience that goes to a family friendly store is much greater and more positive than the like family friendly store. Jesus Christ.
Family friendly?
Now I lost my family friendly.
I get what you're saying though, because we play with like certain players in our community are like 15, 16 years old and they come and play with us at these LGSs. We have an LGS that is a bar and a like restaurant. Sometimes their parents don't want them to go to the bar or the restaurant, right? They want them to go to the game store that's just a game store with sodas in the cooler. Yeah. So all that stuff factors in. And like you don't want it, like we have one game store in the area. We won't mention its name, but like you go in there.
There's all the people that know, they know.
There's like playmats on the wall of like Liliana and Chandra like making out with each other, and it's like, okay, maybe this store doesn't.
No. It's not even that. You walk in there and the smell hits you, and you're like, "Fuck, what is this place?"
That is sweaty. That is the smell of sweaty.
It's sweaty, moldy cards, musk. Like probably some other health concerns. I don't know.
But do. That store does an amazing job supporting its players.
Yep. They do.
And they support the
building is just a little,
Yeah,
it's old.
Yeah. So I mean, and that's
which
kind
is
of
why I tolerate it.
That's kind of one of those things where it's like kind of out of the LGS's hands, right? Like what can they control, what can't they control? Like if you're supporting your player base, but if your player base is a bunch of larger individuals that don't shower enough or whatever, how do you combat that, right? How do you set up rules and stuff like that? Yeah. So there's not a whole lot you can do. Like when I look for an LGS, I think I look a lot at the atmosphere. What's the vibe of this store? Some of my favorite stores aren't even like main focus LGS stores. Like you said, some of them are bars and restaurants.
Board games.
Some of them are like a board game store where the whole inside is carpeted and it feels like you're at home almost. You know what I mean? Like it gives you that, like you're in your friend's basement, but like a finished basement, not concrete walls or whatever. Like if it gives you that homey vibe, it feels good. Something that I look for, which we just mentioned, is products. I want product in your store.
True, okay.
I really like when you have a large selection of singles, because if I'm playing for store credit, I want good singles to play for. I want to be able to save up for that tropical island that's in the case. And then if someone buys it before I can save it, I'm like, no, I want to be upset. I want to have that feeling of like, I need to win as many games as possible to get this as soon as
you're
possible.
working towards something.
Because I'm working towards a goal. So I love when a store has a good selection of singles. I love when it's decorated nice. Put up Magic the Gathering stuff and things that like, we have a store that has this cool like Ikoria banner and a Dockside banner, and like every time you walk in, like you recognize it and you acknowledge it, and you're like, this is cool, this is the vibe that I want and the place that I want to play at, right? I love when stores put out those giant playmats that cover the entire table, and it's all like Magic the Gathering themed. So like the whole table, you don't even need to bring your own playmat, you can just play on top of the table. Like those good vibes incentivize me to play because it makes me feel comfortable being in the store. I also like when you have good employees. I think that's a big thing that's underlooked.
That's a huge
Friendly
thing.
employees,
Yeah.
specifically employees that know stuff about Magic and might have some insight for you.
Or people,
I hate going to an LGS where it's like, oh, what do you think? And they're like, dude, I don't know.
That's why I'm
Like,
asking
why
you.
are you here? Why are you here right
players
now?
that play the game is
Yep.
like a huge
Yes.
deal. And
That's why I like family-friendly stores because most of the time they're more welcoming.
Yeah, no, and that vibe is so positive. I love when I go into a store and there's a employee that I've built up a repertoire with, and I'm like, hey man, I want to do a trade today.
what's going on?
Yeah, like let's do a trade. And he's like, okay, what do you want to trade for? And I pull out the card I want to trade for, and I start pulling out my cards, and you start working out deals. And you know, well, I wouldn't normally do that, but you come in here so often, I'll give you an extra $3 on that card. You know, yada yada.
Or
Like,
we really need these, so I'll give you extra credit.
yeah, like I love stores that are willing to work with their player base because
100%.
that's how you create those relationships. That's how you get me to keep coming back for more. I want to keep playing here, and I want to support you as a store, and I want you to support me as a player or the format that I play. So I think that's my biggest thing is like, you know,
What they offer you.
yeah, and I think that's your job as an LGS to offer something to your players.
It's kind of a double-edged sword, though. So that right there is, I feel like the majority of players share that with you. They want to go to a store where, like, if they need singles, they got singles. But that kind of makes like newer stores. It's a double-edged sword for the player base because like newer stores that would support cEDH when other stores refuse kind of can't if there aren't going to be people attracted to their location.
That's where the other stuff plays a bigger factor, right? Like if you're a newer store and you don't have the ability to have a large inventory of singles or product in general, well, make everything else the best that you can. Make your atmosphere as positive as possible. Make your employees as friendly as possible, because that's not everything, right? You can have the best product out of any LGS in the area, but if your store owners are assholes or your employees don't make a welcoming environment, well, I don't want to play there. I don't want to invite my friends to play there. I don't want to bring my community of players with me to go to your LGS because, you know, I don't want to take a new player who's 15 years old that's trying to get into the format and he wants to buy a card and asks the store owner a question and the guy's a jerk to him. Like, that doesn't make anybody want to play, you know? So I think like...
Or be there.
Yeah, I think if you can only supplement certain things because you're limited by either finances or other things like that, bring up the other things as best as you can. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And your player base will follow. They'll just come. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like they don't have to. They don't need the exodia of a LGS to play at. You know, we make do with a bunch of different. Every LGS we go to has something different.
Yep.
One of them has a really good atmosphere. One of them has really good singles. One of them stinks and has a player base that, you know, but they offer so much in the other respects that it makes me keep coming. You know what I mean? And I think that as an LGS, another thing that like people don't talk about that you should look for is rules and guidelines. Like, you need to set a precedent for how your players need to condone themselves.
Yep.
And I think that if you just have the Wild West of an LGS...
Conduct themselves.
I think it means the same thing, right? Condone and condone.
Condone means to allow.
Yeah, I guess.
I don't
conduct
condone
themselves.
this.
It's all semantics.
I don't
Yeah, it's also
condone
semantics.
your-
Yeah, I don't condone this.
I'm not, the
versus
best,
I conduct.
I'm not the best with grammar, okay? But
Grammar
yeah,
and Gramper?
I think that that's something that a lot of people don't factor in when they own an LGS, you know? What are your codes of conduct? Like,
Febreze costs $2 for the wall plugins. Just a fair note.
well, like, you know, like we talked last week about like players that are like kind of gatekeeping or acting like assholes to other players, right? it's if you don't have a code of conduct that prevents that type of behavior, then what are you going to tell them when you tell them to stop, right? Just, hey, don't do that again, you know?
Yeah,
or kick you out my store.
avoid toxic communities at all costs.
Behaviors, yeah. Whatever you can do to support positivity in your store, do that. You know, I think that's really important.
And another easy one, going back to what AJ said, even though it was really off topic, looking for food at LGS is AJ over here. The first game
brain.
store that I called home was a little game store that's now gone. It was called Anime Fan Zone, and then it turned into Elements of Gaming. And I was there for. I worked there for a little while.
How did I know you'd be at Anime Fan Zone?
Bro, it was
Yeah, you
like I didn't have
fucking
a car at the time, and it was like the closest place I could ride a bike to that wasn't the Stinky store.
Yeah, sure. And they had the mouse pads with boobies on them. So
Yes, they did.
What's wrong with that? I got a body
what
pillow
was
at
cool?
home.
What was cool is so they didn't really offer food, but there was a
Of
restaurant
stores.
next door, and so what the LGS owner did is he went over there and he talked to the owner of the restaurant and was like, "Yo, can all of my players get a discount on food and they'll come here?" And I mean, we were 12 people deep in line between rounds going to get food because it was 10% off and it was good.
yeah,
So, like that's a really easy option for an LGS. Like you don't have food or the ability to put a rack with food, or you don't have a license so that you can microwave hot pockets for people, because I think you actually need a license to prep hot food.
Correct.
So,
Yeah.
you can just talk to a local restaurant, see if you can get a discount for your player base, and that'll bring you in a lot of business.
We have a store by us that is next to a pizza place, and if you order from the pizza place and tell them you're at the store, they deliver it to your table. Like, that's cool. And you don't get a discount, but you get it delivered to you while you're playing. Like, it's a little thing, but it's cool, and it really makes you want to keep going.
It's a
and playing.
symbiotic relationship between the store and the restaurant.
Cool, freaking Mr. Biology man, like the way to pull that
Dude,
one out.
you use the word with more than 6 letters. I don't think we understand.
Okay, you two were just arguing semantics about word choice, and then you guys tell me it's
God, you're
symbiotic.
using
What?
semantics now too?
Oh,
Oh,
man.
I'll use semantics, all right.
I was in the band. I played the Symbiotics.
Hey,
All said and done,
'cause you
though,
didn't know
like,
how
we-
to keep a beat without banging stuff.
All that said and done, though, we specifically in Milwaukee have a really, really nice CDH community and a bunch of really nice. Like, I don't think there's any CDH that I consider around here that I won't go to. Like,
No,
there aren't
yeah.
any.
I
I'll
go to
go to
every
all of
event.
them. They all have like, their quirks and stuff, and
yeah.
like things that I'm like, well, I wish this was better, but all of the other things that those stores offer, are enough. They check enough boxes that I'll go there. So it's really nice around here. I like it.
I agree.
Hey, Kian.
So, moving on to the best segment of the show, the flavor text of the week. This week's flavor text will be held in the same way that the last two have been. So we will have one flavor text for the Adam's staring at me, giving me weird looks, so I have to pause. All right, so we will have one flavor text for the cast here, and then we'll have one flavor text for the viewers at home.
Google Reddit.
And then you have... Hey, get off Scryfall, idiot. Stop it. So you have to respond within 48 hours, and a standard booster pack will be sent to you. So
No cheating.
No cheating. Well, they probably will cheat.
Yeah.
All right.
Make sure we clarify that we have a flavor text judge chat, and if you
in our Discord.
yeah, if you put your answer in there, we're gonna
Spoiler
raffle
tag.
off out of all the correct answers who gets the free pack, and we'll send it to your address.
Yep. All right. So the cast's flavor text I will start with.
Do I get a pack if I get it right?
Nope.
Damn
The cast text that I will start with is fly the path of 9 birds. Fly the path of 9 birds.
Elrond's Epiphany.
Does it have birds on the art?
Well, I don't know.
It's,
It
it's
makes
about
two
birds. Yeah,
It gives
it's,
you an
Oh,
extra
it makes
turn.
two
it
birds.
gives you an extra turn and 2
Fly
birds.
the path of the 9 birds.
Bro, that
So
sounds
it's
like...
a CDH playable card,
Fly the path.
correct? Or you're not giving us?
Yeah, is this related
All
to...
CDH. I've given all CDH
all-
playable
okay.
cards.
Well, he did say on the 10th episode he was going to give us a harder flavor text, so I'm
The
curious.
viewers at home.
Oh,
I
so we
mean-
get easy ones stuff?
this is not the easy one. I mean, this is like the Swan Song one from 2 weeks ago or whatever.
Fly the path of the 9 birds. Is it?
Is it print specific?
There's only one printing of this
Okay,
card.
only one.
Only one printing?
What is the?
Shit.
I don't know many.
Yeah,
birds.
I
So
think
when
we
I
all
think
got
of
it.
birds in like CDH, I think of Ishai, right? But I don't think it's that. I know it's got flavor text, but it has to do with Ojutai. I think of Swan Song, right? That's got a bird in it.
But that's got the mages. It's about mages or some.
Yeah. So what other stuff, like what has to do with...
Probably unrelated to birds entirely. I would
More
bet,
than likely.
I would bet that it's a blue or a white card, though, if it's talking about birds. Keen, you don't have to tell me, but he's looking at me like it is.
Well, you can ask for names. Is it a blue or white card? Is it colorless?
Yep.
Ooh.
Colorless.
Wait, here. I have one other question.
Yep.
Is it a colorless card or is it an artifact?
I think that's giving away too much.
You think it's giving away too much?
Okay.
It's colorless.
Is
It's
it
colorless.
recent? Is it a recent printing or is it an old card?
It's a recent card.
Is it that treasure card that when it enters or leaves makes a treasure? No. Okay.
It is not price stage.
No, it's not Bryce's spec.
I was just trying.
That's Bryce's
So,
spec.
all right,
Yeah,
so
he
he
bought
didn't,
200 and he
Oh,
didn't get them.
He tried to buy 200.
he didn't tell us if it was... So he said that it's a colorless card, but wouldn't tell us that it's an artifact or not, which makes me think it's not an artifact, because otherwise he would have just said it's an artifact, because there's so many playable artifacts in CDH. But there's not a
Wandering
lot of...
Archaic.
Yep.
No way, really?
Nice.
Yeah, Wandering Archaic.
You led me right into
That's
that
pretty
one.
dope.
Hell yeah.
Good
This
job,
is the first
Sam.
one I've gotten.
All right, so the flavor text for the viewers at home will be: the Ojutai believe in the Great Wheel. Those who best serve in the Dragon Lord are destined to be reborn as dragons.
I know that one,
say it
but
one
I'm
more
not going to
time.
say it.
The Ojutai believe in the Great Wheel. Those who serve the Dragon Lord are destined to be reborn as dragons.
But that's for them. I know what it is. That's for them.
That's for them to decide.
Good luck, guys.
Yeah, all right. Make sure you put your answer in the flavor text judge chat, and please use spoiler text when doing so. We will draw a winner 48 hours after release of the video.
Okay. All right, now I have a question to ask you guys. So, do you think that it's the responsibility of the player base or of the store owners to help this format stay afloat? Personally, I think that it's kind of more towards the player side, but also a little bit of the store owners. The players have to want to be able to go and play enough to bring it up and ask, hey, I want to run this event at this time. I can get like 8 people. Can we please fire an event? And the store owners have to be flexible enough to say, okay, this is going to be a lot of traffic in my store to like get cards off the shelf, product, and just have a general player base to say, okay, I'd be happy to run your event for you.
It's a lot more legwork for the store than it is for the players, in my opinion.
In some cases, because it's
You got to go on social media platforms. You got to be diligent with posting about it, stuff like that.
I think
I
it's,
think it's more
opposite.
players.
Yeah, I think that the player base takes the responsibility, because this is an entire... I mean, think about EDH itself, right?
Well, I was just saying that was a lot of legwork.
That's
a lot of... That's
for
a
the-
lot of the store's diligence if they want that.
I mean, if they want to take on that responsibility, yeah. But I also think like as a store, it's not really a ton of legwork, right? You just
No.
have to say, yeah, I'll support your
And then
event.
you post it on Facebook once a week. The players have to be like, okay, I have to get people here.
I'm
I
gonna
have to
show
make
up.
sure I show up
We
here.
have to come up
I
with,
gotta.
like, for our experience, when we want to hold a CDH event at a store, they ask us, how much do you want to charge?
Oh yeah,
I'm
and
like,
determining prize support too.
yeah,
is a big-
and they ask you, what do you want for prizes? And I'm like, wait, that's my job as a player?
$100 a seat. Let's go.
Yeah.
Winner take all.
We have stores that do that, where they'll say, like, however much you want to charge.
I guess
let
we
us
just lose
know,
to Cody.
and whoever wins will get the store credit. And we're like, holy shit!
Just give it
you
to
know?
the Cody players.
So it's just one of
me the
those.
money.
It's just one of those things where it's like, if you want to do that, you have to take the responsibility as a player. The store just provides the space most of the time. So I think that a lot of responsibility is on the player base, especially when you consider that this entire format is online driven. Like Discord communities, Reddit communities, spell table stuff. That's why CDH is popular. YouTube,
Yep.
you know what I mean? Like, it's all run by players. WotC doesn't even have a hand really in competitive
No,
EDH.
they
And
literally,
that's-
they literally don't have a hand.
That's what I was about to bring up, is like, what if you have a player who wants to get into CDH, has been playing on spell table, online, stuff like that, but doesn't know anyone in person that plays. That's an uphill battle for them to try to get it at an LGS.
Well, and that's where I think the store takes responsibility. Because, like, something that people always used to tell me is, like, when you go to LGS to go play Magic, specifically, like, go play EDH, you're paying a store on, like, FNM nights to find you a pod. Because you might not have the ability to just go play games by yourself with your friends. So, like, when you go to a game store, you're saying, hey, I'm going to pay you the $4 entry fee for FNM for you to find me people to play with. And that's where they set up pods and they set up groups, and that's what they do at most LGSs during F&M nights. Because it's like I might not have enough friends that play this game or socially capable of asking people to play with. So I'm going to have you do that for me. And I think that's where like sometimes store owners take responsibility because it's your job to garnish a safe and inviting play space for players.
You gotta earn your customers.
You really do. And I mean, the rough thing about whether it's the player base or the store owners is because you need players in order to make it profitable for the store to actually fire the event. Because the store is never going to look at an event and go, well, I want that event even if nobody shows up, because then they're wasting their schedule, they're wasting their time, and they have employees. Like some stores are open later on F&M nights or on competitive EDH nights where they have to staff that.
We have stores that close at 10 but are open till 3 a.m. just to continue to let people play one night a week. Like at Saturdays, we have a store where they literally, like at 10 a.m., they shut down the computers and their employees get to play with everybody.
10 p.m. you mean?
10 p.m.
What did I say, 10 a.m.?
Yeah.
10 a.m. Jesus.
Yeah.
Close the store at 10. Everybody
At 10 p.m.
10 a.m.
At 10
became a
p.m.
cEDH.
they shut down their computers and they tell their employees, all right, you're no longer on the clock, but let's play. And now everybody gets to play with the people that they come and see every day at the store. It's such a cool environment, right?
Falklandia does that on Sundays, actually, when they close at 7.
I didn't know that, but
Yeah.
I got work in the morning, so I got to
that's
leave
fair.
anyway. But yeah, so it's just like really cool to see that kind of stuff. And I think that when it comes down to straight up responsibility, though, I think players take on a huge amount of, like, we have that
Definitely.
responsibility in our group. We run a local Discord for all Wisconsin players that if you are a cEDH player in Wisconsin, please join. But we host meetups and games and announce tournaments and scheduling. Like, we're the only resource right now.
We are the cEDH events.
Yeah, we are the only resource right now for where you can find local events in one place. We announce all the local events. You know what I mean?
Specific to cEDH.
Yeah, but like,
And the Wisconsin.
but even like
Milwaukee
game
metro
stores
area.
aren't doing that. You know what I mean? Like they're not taking that on. So I think a lot of that responsibility falls on the player base, and I think that a lot of people don't want to hear that too.
No.
They don't want to hear that it's our job. But this is EDH. It's a fan-made format.
Yep.
So fans have to support it. I think that you just have to do your best as a player to get your LGS to hop on board with that.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
It'll take away
100%.
some of the legwork from the player because theoretically the LGS should have more outreach than the average player does
Well,
Right.
to like finding people.
It's your job as a player also to incentivize your LGS.
Yep. So it's
you know?
it's symbiotic, but depending on the situation, like yes, big words. Yeah, big words. It's a symbiotic relationship, but depending on like the degree, you know, there might be more or less work for one party versus the other, but
Yeah.
it definitely has to come together where both parties are working together. If you as the player want to see an LGS support your format, and if they don't, well, then just find another
Find
LGS that will, I guess.
And like, there's no harm in just going, can I speak with like the store owner? Hey, would you be interested in running like a cEDH event here? Like, there's no harm in just asking the question. If he says no, he says no. If he doesn't, you have an opportunity to play your favorite
Or
format.
shop around on your city's
Or that.
Magic page, because
Like
almost
Facebook.
every
On
city
Facebook.
has
Yeah.
like Magic Milwaukee, Magic Orlando, Florida. You know, shop around on there, be like, hey, any stores offer cEDH, and then a couple players might chime in and be like, well, our store doesn't offer, but we play
We
here.
could.
And then you show up there, and boom, now there's 6 people there. Other people see the post, and now you have an LGS that'll fire it. It just kind of fell together.
Yeah.
Shop around for sure.
Well, and on the topic that I brought up earlier about like incentivizing your LGS to play, like be forward facing with that. Like tell your store owner, like, hey, if you run cEDH events here, I can guarantee 10 people will show up every week. And that's 10 more people in your store that wouldn't have come here earlier. That's 10 more people playing with high-end cards that'll buy high-end singles, you know? And if you are the store to cultivate that community, I can guarantee that it'll grow to more than just 10 people. You know what I mean? That's what we do. I've talked to store owners all the time. I'm like, hey, can I talk to you? I run a Discord for local players for a content page, and we want to know if we can put up a poster with our Discord link because we advertise your store in there all the time. We let people know that you run events, blah, 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 blah. If you benefit us, we'll benefit you. You know, all that type of stuff, because that's all an LGS really wants is that type of relationship with their players, and they want you to invite people to come and invite people to play. And I think that, you, like everyone always says, like, support your local LGS. It's true. You got to support your local LGS for them to support you. Yep. So there's definitely a lot of onus on the players there. But like what do you guys think that like store owners, like what responsibility do they have? Do you know what I mean? Like, do you guys think that there's any there that they have?
Responsibility to the customers, listening to your customers, If you have people trying to throw money at you, like cater to their desires if possible. Obviously, don't, bend over backwards and then lose a bunch of money because you spent money on resources to have something happen that didn't happen. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the responsibility of the store owner is specifically to the player, like Sam was talking about. And it's also the responsibility of advertising, because in order for you to get players, like a game store that has a bunch of foot traffic, if you put a sign up that says we do cEDH events on X day, a bunch of people are going to see that. They're either going to themselves either end up playing cEDH, maybe, or they have people that they know that play cEDH, and then they can further outreach from that. So it's a big thing about advertising.
Well, wasn't it last week? I was at the end of our Monday night cEDH. I was hanging out with Manny and Edwin, and there was a guy in the parking lot getting food from the restaurant next door, and he was like, "Hey, you guys playing Magic there at that game store?" And we were like, "Yeah." He's like, "My buddy owns a game store. You guys should go check it out." And like, he was advertising for his buddy's LGS. Like, it was just funny that happened. But like, yeah, that's like the type of thing that like stores should be doing. Is like, hey, like, well, you guys, we noticed the cEDH community is kind of big. We run cEDH, you know what I mean, and stuff like that. What about you, Kim? What do you think? Like, what responsibility do you think falls on store owners?
I think AJ and Sam touched it. I think they should. Their responsibility should be catering to their player base, having advertising, but I think they should also be responsible for what singles they have to the case. In the case, like what you were saying, Adam, like that draws in traffic. Because if I go to a store and they don't have like any good singles, why would I be incentivized to play and get store credit at the store?
So hear me out, and that brings up another point. I'm just gonna interject real quick. Proxies is something that an LGS can offer that will bring in people to play this format, allowing proxies.
Yeah, proxy friendly.
Because let's be honest, your average player, especially someone trying to get into a format, doesn't have all 10 duels in a time twister.
Right.
Yeah,
the difficulty is that's like in order to do that, you have to jump through so many hoops. Yeah. So like,
but there's a license by Wizards that players can have a set amount of proxies
in an unsanctioned event. So like the stores that we go to that are proxy friendly don't use the Gatherer. Because if you are not the Gatherer, don't use the companion app. Yeah. Because if you use the companion app to host your event, you technically, by WotC's rules, cannot allow proxies in that event. Yeah. So as a store, like I think you can differentiate between regular EDH and Commander. We have a store that for cEDH, we don't use the Gatherer, and you play for store credit and you buy in and you pay out. That's it. And then for EDH, they use the Gatherer and they get promo packs and they get promo cards and they get what WotC supplies for companion games, and we are our own subset of things. But we would prefer it like that because then we get the ability to play with people who can't afford to normally play.
Plus, then we don't have to drink the government Kool-Aid from WotC.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah, and I think that, I think that is a good, proxies. As a store owner, if you are comfortable with allowing proxies in your store, by all means do that. One of the most popular cEDH stores in our area is a 100% proxy-friendly event. And they don't use the companion app. It's store credit for buy-in, and they do a huge yearly tournament as well. Like, it's such a inviting atmosphere for people who want to play competitively. And I think that
you want to play against the player,
want to play the brain.
The
yep, the brain, not the wallet. 100%.
Yeah, and I think another piece of responsibility that we didn't mention that is on the store itself is the responsibility of creating a safe environment. Yep, I think that it's your responsibility as a store owner to create a safe environment for your players, and they want to play somewhere that they feel comfortable. So as a store, you have to do that. And I think that kind of sums up in a good way, like what responsibility is on the store when it comes to supporting like cEDH and then Magic as a whole.
And I know that we touched on this throughout the entire conversation that we've had, but what do you guys think LGSs can do to better support the current cEDH meta and the current cEDH communities as a whole? I believe that definitely proxy friendly is a huge thing. I mean, I've played up against players who are amazing at the game, but again, you don't have a time twister, you don't have all 10 duels. You're kind of out of luck. And I've played up against people who are, not great at the game, and they have $30,000. Yeah, they're like, yeah, I play this.
Oh, I can play whatever I want. I got 4 CDHs constructed.
Yeah, and then they're like, all right, I play this time twister, and it's like, why are you what's going on
this
here?
9.5 gem time twister.
Yeah, it's like in a Beckett case.
Still in the graded case.
They just have a graded case deck next to them. You're just like, isn't that marked?
Draw this card.
But no,
I share that answer with you. I think allowing proxies in your environment is probably the easiest and strongest hitting change that you can do to your LGS to allow such a format to exist.
I agree.
I think that's one of the things where, like, if all LGSs did that, like if all LGSs were like, hey, we're going to support proxies for cEDH events, we're taking a stand. This is what we're going to do because we want to support this format. I think you'd see a bigger shift in WotC's mentality as well, because that's the LGS is saying. LGSs are saying we're listening to our player base. We're going to make our decisions based on our player base, and then WotC's going to say, well, we have to listen to the people who buy our product.
Yep, it'll make its way up the chain.
Yeah, so I think that is a huge way that they can, like, that an LGS can take a stand and say, listen, we get it. We can't use proxies in sanctioned events. That's fine. We're going to run unsanctioned events.
We'll just make everything unsanctioned.
And then we're going to allow proxies so that these people can play this format because it's what they enjoy. And since that community is okay with this, then we're okay with it as well. Yeah. So I think that's a big one. I think LGSs can also just take the format more seriously. I think that's a big thing. I think a lot of like these LGSs don't really look at it as like it's
not supposed to be a competitive format.
Well, that's the thing, right? So like, this
casual.
gets into like the weeds a little bit of like, what do you consider cEDH? Because like me personally, I consider cEDH almost its own format that shares a rules list. But other people just consider cEDH a meta of EDH, right? So depending on how you think about it, this answer may not vibe with you. But I think that if like LGSs actually like gave it the recognition that it deserved as its own entity and was like, hey, cEDH is real and it's here, we want to support it, that you'd see a lot more game stores like down to clown with us idiots that are just jamming decks, you know what I mean? And playing with $12,000 piles. Yeah. And so I would love to see that more, and I'd love to see them, incentivize that player base more.
I agree with all your guys' points. I think another thing they could do better or should do better is advertise more, because there's always more players in the community that the outreach of the game store doesn't hit. And if you increase your like advertising, not only on Facebook, you can be on like, I know this is gonna sound cringy, but TikTok is like the way to go for younger audiences. Or you could do like this. You can have like a
Discord.
Like a Discord or something. Reddit too.
The community on Reddit is so large, and I never once have I seen on like r
a game store or something.
A game store like, hey, I'm launching a cEDH tonight at my game store. Yada yada yada.
Yeah.
I put on Reddit on what day is it today? Saturday. Yeah. So I put on yesterday on Reddit. I was like, hey, we are a group of local players that have a YouTube channel, and we want to get more local players into our meta. And if you want to come play,
we had like 30 people join our Discord.
Not only that, they all were commenting like, where do you guys play? I've been looking at cEDH for forever. I didn't know cEDH fired around here. And it's like, dude, there's so many stores, but yeah, the stores don't advertise it, so the players don't know. And it's all word of mouth. So like, yeah, that's a good point. That like, yeah, if you advertise better, you'll support the format a lot better. Yeah. Did you guys have anything else you wanted to add on like how you guys think that LGSs can better support cEDH?
If you do, if there's an LGS that does have a following for cEDH, make sure that you talk about or post images of the winner holding, I don't know, a small trophy or like their prize support or what they won. Pictures of the pods happening.
That's a good. That's a really good point. Like,
when you can physically see them firing an event, live stream a cEDH event. People love watching competitive Magic, right?
Yeah, that's a little harder for most LGSs to do that.
You get a GoPro and make a couple accounts on the internet.
Yeah. even but like you said though, even posting like a picture of like, hey, we got 5 pods of cEDH firing tonight, and posting that on your Facebook.
Here's a weekly winner. Yada yada yada.
Yeah, that's huge. That's huge. There's an LGS I know that posts like They do they have like a YouTube channel, and they post in the Commander library every once in a while. It's a Discord that is all for all things Commander, and they do like player spotlights. So they do like interviews of their players, and they're like, "Hey, what kind of decks do you like to play? What are you into? Who's your favorite commander?" And it's cute, but it's funny because they're supporting their players. They're like, "Hey, we want to spotlight you as a player," and blah blah blah. And it's something cute, but
everyone likes a little attention too. That looks good to the player.
It does a lot.
Maybe I'll get picked this week.
Yeah, it does a lot for your community. So for sure, I think that all those are very good points.
And even
We should
that's
just open an LGS.
advertising.
We should just open an LGS.
You know how many of us have thought of that?
Sad Naus
which is
LGS. Let's
ridiculous.
go.
It's insane.
I
mean, we have an LLC. So.
I may or may not own the rights to Manavolt Milwaukee. So
There you go.
But yeah, I think that was a really good conversation.
Yeah.
Is
So
there anything else you guys want to cover?
yeah, any closing
I feel pretty good
segments
about
before we wrap it
No
up?
ban list, free proxies. Yeah, every game store should be no ban list.
One
competitive.
free dual land for every entry.
Bro, come on. I mean,
They have to be near mint, unlimited.
unbanned Flash.
I'd be down for unbanning Flash.
Again,
I
so
think
that we can have
Go
this
back to Flash.
hellscape
Flash
again.
Hulk.
Flash Hulk, baby.
I think the meta is. This is a whole nother topic. I think the meta is prepared for Flash to come back.
I think with all the free counters now, yes.
Yeah.
Because like before, it was always you had to have
Force
open
or-
mana.
Right, but they don't
and
make
it was-
these. They don't make these decisions based on the meta.
No,
they
they
make
make
these
the-
decisions based on is someone in casual beating the crap out of their friends with Flash.
I didn't know if Flash was that. much
Flash was a targeted ban towards CDH.
I just,
It was
yeah,
toxic.
I just think when you consider like the current meta, you consider more people are getting smarter with deck building. You'll see more containment priests. You'll see more things like that. You know what I mean? Like I think that Flash could come back, but that's a whole nother.
Unban my boy Hull Breacher, please.
No,
I have so many Hull Breachers.
No, that one's a problem
I can
in all
advocate
of
for
it.
Flash. Hull Breacher is just a different fucking story. Okay. Well, guys, that I think we had a pretty good shorter discussion than normal, but I think we got a lot of ideas out, and I think we kind of summed it up pretty well. So I believe that everyone had. Is there anybody else that has to speak?
I mean,
Closing
like,
things?
all right. So if there's any LGSs listening and you aren't sure how you can go about it, like, feel free to hit us up, join our Discord, and like
We're in Discord.
you can post
Pretty
if you're
active.
in the Milwaukee area, you're not in the Milwaukee area, like. I'm sure you can work something out with one of the moderators to post your event.
We have 2 game stores already that are in our
some
Discord
publicity.
in the local area.
Oh, very cool. I didn't even know
that
that.
post and do stuff like that. But yeah, even if you're not from Milwaukee or Wisconsin at all, and you just want to know like how to get better involved in the community, hit us up. We'll give you all the resources. There's thousands and thousands of CDH resources out there that can help you advertise your store and get a stronger player base.
Yeah, and I think all of us here just want to see these communities grow. So, like, please ask us if you have any questions.
The more players, the better.
I'll give my 2 cents. If
It's more money for us to win at tournaments.
Exactly.
But
More
overall,
plates to clean off. You don't finish that? Nope, mine.
no. But overall, LGSs do support the Magic community, but it takes time and motivation from the player base to help and grow in an infant format like CDH. I think that together with the support from players and store owners, holy
support from
fuck.
players and stoners. All right.
I mean, that's a majority of CDH players, TBH. But we will see CDH grow to a magnitude that we have never thought possible. And as long as we keep this community positive and inviting to new players, we at Sad Naus believe this will be the case. Now for some fun stuff. So today, instead of feeding the fish, we're doing something a little different for today's topic. Bergie's Corner. We're all going to be gods of storytelling. In this segment, we're going to give each member on the podcast 5 minutes to tell their favorite story regarding today's topic. That being your most memorable story involving an experience you had in an LGS. Adam, would you like to start?
Sure. So for my here, let's get a timer out so we don't tell super over drawn out
I mean,
stories.
mine's probably like 2 minutes, but yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Remember when I won? Yeah, that was great.
I don't even think I'm gonna go with a favorite story. I'm gonna go with the most memorable, which is probably like the worst experience.
Well, yeah. I mean, I guess if you want to talk about that, that's a good thing to touch on too. Is like, what is a negative experience you've had? So for me to start, my most favorite, most memorable story that I've ever had at an LGS is when I was a new player. So when I first started playing when I first started playing Magic in general, was back in like 2015, I believe, which is during the Shadows over Innistrad block. So
somewhere around there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember like when I first got into the game, we bought like a bunch of starter decks because they had dual decks at the time, right? Me and my buddies, and we would play kitchen table Magic with our dual decks. We bought like some commander decks. I remember I had like the Daxos Returned Experience deck. That was like my first ever commander deck. So this was like all the things that we would do and buy when we were getting into the game. And so we would just play kitchen table, like someone's random pile versus a pre-con versus the dual deck, like just playing and learning Magic as we go, looking up rulings, guessing what rules are, yada, yada, yada. Well, one day we were feeling pretty confident, pretty ballsy. We're like, you know what? This new set's coming out, Shadows over Innistrad. And we were like, this looks awesome. And like game stores do events for the release of these sets. And it's like everybody plays, you know, it was the pre-release, and we were looking into the pre-release, and we're like, everybody gets like 6 packs. They build a deck with those packs. It's inviting for new players, da-da-da-da. We're like, let's get into this, and it'll help us get into standard because we were learning about formats. So like if we get a pre-release, we can start with the pre-release deck, and now we have a standard deck, and we can use that to play standard events. So we're like, okay, we're going to go and do this. So the game store that we went to was Board Game Barrister in Greenfield,
Which is no longer there.
which
Sadly.
no longer exists, unfortunately. It was one of our,
Sadly.
it was all of our probably most of
Favorite
our
LGS.
favorite LGS. It was one of the best
Just
LGS.
the building itself was so
so
nice.
good.
Yeah,
It's
it was
open and
such a good
so
atmosphere.
many tables.
And I remember
So friendly too.
we went there with me and my friends. Were like, we're gonna do this pre-release. It's gonna be awesome. I remember I was watching like Nitsa Hone's YouTube videos back then. I'm like, what are the best cards to draft and use in your decks? And I remember like I was watching all the set reviews. This was back when the Wedge from the Mana Source was still making videos. So I was watching all their videos on the set review and everything. And I was like, okay, I am the most prepared and most set up for this pre-release. So we went to Board Game Barrister and we entered in the pre-release. And dude, I remember we were so wrong on so many of the rulings and the card text, and we didn't know what the fuck we were doing. They had werewolf cards, so this was when flip cards would come in and do stuff. Like back then, werewolf cards were like you had to cast a certain number of spells to flip them, and it was just all crazy. So I remember in this pre-release, I drafted red green werewolves and a human werewolf tribal, and I opened an Avacyn in my pack. It was like Avacyn Restored. And it was the one where it's like white on one side, and then the other side, she's like Avacyn, whatever, and she's red, and she's like a 7/8 or whatever, like just some crazy card.
Oh, I know.
With
What
it,
you're
yeah,
talking
with some
about,
crazy
yeah.
abilities. And I actually ended up winning the pre-release event, like my first time ever playing
Really?
in a competitive like Magic thing at all. It was like the Sunday morning pre-release event, and I ended up winning like a booster box. And so we took that fucker home and we popped all those packs and just started playing. Like we tried to draft it, I think, and we didn't know how draft worked. So we were just fucking around in my buddy Sam's basement. But that was probably like one of my most, that got me hooked on Magic. It was like my most memorable moment of ever playing Magic the Gathering because it was like, holy shit, like I cracked this card that at the time was worth $40 because it was like the best card in standard at the time. I was like, this is amazing.
It's a lot of dopamine return for zero expectations.
Well, when you're 15 or 16 and like you're spending, you know, the little money you have from working at Kohl's and you're like you made money on the pre-release, you're like, oh my god, this is amazing. And yeah, I remember I opened a foil. I traded it to you. All your creatures tap for mana.
Oh, Cryptolith.
I opened a foil Cryptolith, right? Like that was like
That's how long you've had that. Jeez.
Yes, all my Innistrad cards from Shadows are literally from 2016 or 2015 when the set came out. I bought 2 booster boxes. I won a booster box, bought a booster box, and did 2 pre-releases. And the first one I did was the one that I won. That was one of my favorite blocks of Magic ever. I'll never forget that. It got me into the game, and then after my long hiatus and I started coming back to playing, it was during Midnight Hunt.
So would you say that your peak in your Magic career was that pre-release?
Well, I won the CEDH tournament on Monday, so currently the champion of that. So that was I'm still
I don't know.
peaking.
Just look at his MOC record.
Yeah, you peaked at 15 bucks.
We don't gotta talk about that. But yeah, that was my most memorable.
And 5
story.
minutes done.
Yeah.
All right. Who's next?
Let's go.
What you got?
I mean,
Anyone
I can go.
want to go up?
I
I'll
think-
go.
I can go.
don't care.
I'll go.
Okay.
All right. So my favorite memory is not about opening cards, but it's about a person at Board Game Barrister. I called him Grandpa, but he was other Adam. He's a really nice guy. I think he was an L1 judge. I think
he might have almost been a level 2.
almost level 2.
Well, back then it would have been different, right? Because
Yeah,
it would
I
have had
think
level
he-
1 through 5.
He definitely was a level 2 then. He was,
Yeah.
if not higher.
He was a super nice guy, right? But we started getting into more competitive decks, and he would be the guy's like, no, I'm going to stick with casual, but I'm going to highly tune this casual deck and have a crappy commander to where it's not considered cEDH, but it's basically cEDH. So every time I would sit down, he would have this Arkham Daxon deck. This was back in the good old days. This deck, anytime he would sit down and play that deck, he would just win. So he threatened me. He's like, if you play Savala, I will sit down. I will switch spots with this player and play Arkham and make sure you never win. And he did that with every deck I built. It was not cool, but looking back on it, it was pretty funny.
Memorable,
it
but
was
not cool.
Yeah, it was it was very
Memorable.
Wow, Kian,
Yeah,
bro.
I cannot talk today.
I know it's
Big-
kind of early, but damn,
Big
dude.
words,
I woke
bro.
up at like 6:30.
Adam was such a cool guy because I
Yeah,
remember
I like them.
when we first started playing CDH, like me and my friend, or first of all, God, I'm just so used to saying CDH. When we first started playing EDH, me and my friend group, Adam was one of the first people to get us into it.
Yeah.
And like I remember him sitting us down and being like, "Do you guys want to see the coolest thing ever?"
Yeah,
and we were like, "What do you mean?" And he's like, "I'm gonna win with this deck by turn 3." We were like, "That's not possible." And it was this Arkham deck, and he just sat down and he's like, "Check this shit out."
Yeah.
And he hard mulled to 4 cards, and then he's like, "Let's fucking go."
Yeah.
And it was just the coolest thing ever. And he also had Feldergriff group hug.
Yep.
I remember all his deck. He was such a talk about
He was a good deck.
an ambassador for the format.
Yeah. He's welcoming to everybody that would sit down.
And he had so much knowledge. You
Yeah.
literally could learn everything about the format just from him, whether it was casual or competitive.
He was the OG politic king.
Oh
No,
yeah, he
yeah.
was good politic.
He was the OG
Adam
politic
could
king.
politic at the table. Yeah, he
Yeah,
was really good.
mostly just me and Bryce out. He'd be like, "These guys are a threat. You got to kill them. I'm not gonna win. I'm gonna sit here. Look at my commander. It doesn't do anything."
It's weird, right? It's weird how his politics are quite similar to how I politic. Huh?
Well, Adam v. Adam. You guys share the same name, so maybe your brain cells are
bigger.
bigger. Maybe
I don't know about bigger,
but they're definitely
Shadier.
more in
Your
tune.
your amount of neurons. They just using big words. Neuron.
Neurons. Well, that's
All right, you got 2 minutes left. You done?
Yeah, I'm done.
Do you have a negative experience you want to share?
I mean, that's well, I guess that's
All
a
right.
positive experience because you probably learned a lot from this person.
Adam was the coolest dude.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was a positive experience. Negative experiences recently. All my cards get flusterstormed. That's every time I play though, someone has a flusterstorm. So that's a really negative experience.
Dude, what are you talking about? The turn 1 imp seal needs to be counter.
Shut up. No, it doesn't. But I think a negative experience would be, I think right after COVID, a buddy and I went to go to a LGS that was like Illinois. Like you mentioned it before, and they were cool at first. Like we played with proxy duels. They didn't say anything to us. It wasn't a sanctioned event, so we thought it was okay. They said specifically said, yeah, we don't care. So we go there the second time. One of the players was like, had mentioned something to the owner that they were using proxies, and he brought it up to us, and he was like, you guys using proxies? We're like, yeah, we're using proxies. This isn't a sanctioned Wizards event. And he was like, well, you guys can't use proxies in my store. Then we got kicked out.
He
But
actually kicked you out the LGS.
yeah,
Yeah,
but
they did.
we got Shake Shack on the way back, baby. It felt great that day, but yeah.
Yeah, that
Only
can
time
be,
I've been kicked out.
that can be really upsetting. That you go there to play and have a good experience, and
Yeah.
that a store tells you have to leave for playing the game.
Yeah.
And
And it was
you didn't even check with his other employees to verify.
was just him.
They said we could.
it was just him.
Oh.
Him and
Yeah,
another.
it's one.
Also, it was,
and
it was
another
the
dude.
players that were like, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, it was the players.
What?
Well, no, the
Except
players.
the
had
No,
a
no.
problem.
The players had the problem with it.
Oh,
The
I see,
stoner
I
was
see, I
like,
see.
okay,
The
because
stoner, yeah.
That's
I
just
said
we're
You
gonna call
keep
store
saying,
owners.
you
We're
keep
gonna.
mushing store owner together and saying
Store
store.
Sounds like everybody
owner.
smokes weed that owns a store.
That's what we call store owners from now on. It's just stoners.
Stoners,
you know?
yeah.
We're
Hey,
just
what up,
like,
stoner?
What's up, stoner? And he's like, huh?
Huh?
How do you
own
know?
a store?
yeah. Well,
store
that's all
owner.
I got.
All right, 5 minutes. That's up.
So
AJ, why don't you tell your experience?
So honestly, I gotta say that my most memorable experiences were actually spanned over a couple weeks, and I'm gonna go off of an actual favorite experience of mine rather than a negative one. This is actually how I met Bryce and Kian. Is at my store. I got paired up with Bryce 4 weeks in a row every Friday. Every Magic event, I got paired up with Bryce, and he was on Zur or some deck before Zur.
Rune or Derevi.
I think it was Derevi, and I lost every week for months. And then I got paired up with Kian, and I lost every week for months. But because you get matched up with these people so many times, you eventually have to talk to them. You're just like, all right, why you and me? Why in the same pod every week? And it eventually got to the point where Grandpa Adam would be like, do you guys want to be split? Like, because like you guys get matched every week, and we were like, nah, it's fine, whatever. But I met Bryce, and Bryce already knew Kian prior to that, and me and Bryce ended up getting, kind of friendly with one another. And then I got matched up with Kian like 4 weeks in a row, and I ended up meeting and matching up with Kian a lot. And we would chat, and then eventually it got to the point where Kian mentioned something to Adam and to the store owners that, hey, we're taking the fun away from the casual players by playing such high-powered decks. So we ended up getting moved to an entire different section of the store to play just cEDH. And it was fantastic because I was on Flash Hulk, so I was winning, at least once a month.
And that's where I came in too. That's how I met you guys, right after the split to competitive from regular EDH.
All of a sudden, Sam shows up and
with Maelstrom Wander, and I won my first game. Let's go.
That was, dude. That's where I learned what Spelljack did, and I was like, dude, that is the most pain-inducing
Kian
card.
learned that having a food chain out with a 3-mana Dork and a Venser in your hand means he doesn't win with Savala Brostorm multiple times.
Sad days. He always had it. But I remember the first time I met you. Sorry to interrupt. But I remember the first time I met you. You were playing Flash Hulk, right? And you Flash Hulked and didn't win, and I was getting mad. I was like, how does this dude? How is this idiot not Flash Hulk and win? What's happening here? You're supposed to win the game,
dude. I remember when we got playmats with our names on them from
Flash
Bryce.
Hulk
We all had playmats with like sayings and like stuff on it, and in the left corner it's Flash Hulk but doesn't win.
Yep. And, it was the meme.
It was always great.
That game store was so cool because it's funny that like all of us were playing there at the same time, but I wasn't into competitive at the time, so I was playing casual with all my casual friends, and like that game store just had like such an inviting atmosphere for people to just sit down and play and have fun.
I miss that.
Yeah,
place,
I remember
dude.
seeing you there, but you weren't playing in the.
Yeah.
I was always playing with these.
My buddy
guys.
showed me a video. There's a video that we have from like 2015, like my third or fourth time at the game store, where I'm just like shuffling cards. I'm like, hey, fuck you, just like, and I'm like this baby faced kid, like just like yelling at the game store.
Fuck you.
Yeah,
it was.
Those were the early Sad Naus days, if you think about it.
Yeah,
it was really funny. I like how we just missed Adam. At least I did. You saw him, Sam. I don't think
Adam Grandpa?
Kian might have been. Well, no, you saw him.
So me and my friends, we played with Bryce a few times. We played with Adam and we played with Ronnie a few times. And like we would just play like in the casual scene. So like one of my best friends, Sam, he knows you and he knows Bryce, but like just by facial features. Like I don't know if they talked a lot. And then like Eric and all those guys, like we've all met and played before too. So like it's just funny though that like when you think about that atmosphere that game store provided, like it brought so many people together to the point where now we're like best friends. You know what I mean?
And made a community with over 100 people.
And now we run a podcast.
Share these.
Well, like that comes to show
that's
like
the power of an LGS, right?
Yeah,
there.
like
if
when
you have a good environment, man, sky's the limit.
It does a lot, yeah. So for the last one now, Sam, we got to hear your.
All right. So my story goes back to when I first started playing Magic. This is my first LGS. It was that anime fan zone at the time.
The Weeboo fan zone.
Yeah, and that's where I met. That's where and how I met my best friend, and his name is Nathaniel. He now owns Falklandia Brewing. He's the brewmaster and owner, and that's the LGS / brewpub location. So he runs that joint now. But back in the day when we were playing Standard, this was around the time of, Phyrexia Block meets Innistrad. Like, in my opinion, one of the best times to play Standard. Like, it was such a high-powered set, it was ridiculous. And I was playing some janky brew that I absolutely adored. It was like my pet deck at the time. I loved Phyrexian Obliterator.
Good card.
And then Innistrad came out. And there's this neat little card called Prey Upon, which forces your opponent's creature to deal damage to your creature. So you play a Phyrexian Obliterator, and then you play a pump spell on their creature, and you make it prey upon your Phyrexian Obliterator, and they lose their entire field, and most of the time the game ends in a scoop, because like they don't have any lands, they're like out of a bunch of cards in hand, and you've got a 5/5 with trample on the board that says, if you poke me, you don't get to have things. So I'm playing that deck, and Nate is playing this really persistent Jund deck. So it was like a Jund mid-range deck. He's playing Bonfire, Strangleroot Geist. What's that caterpillar? The green trample vigilance guy with Undying. What's his name? I can't think of what it's called.
It's not
Cost 5. It's a 5/4. It has Undying. Has trample and vigilance. Vorpede.
Oh,
Vorpede. So he's playing like Undying shenanigans, a bunch of removal spells. So we get late into the last game. We both won a game. We're on game 3. Nice, dude.
Damn it,
Adam. I'm at 9 life, and I have a Phyrexian Obliterator on board and a bunch of lands and no cards in hand. He's at 3 life with a Strangleroot Geist and 6 lands on the board. Or 7 lands on the board. Late in the game, no one has any cards in hand. I pass to him. He knows that I'm gonna kill him next turn. I've got lethal on the table. He's got a Strangleroot Geist that's only gonna block 1 of the damage max, right? He does this wizardry and like kind of claps his hands together and then looks at the top card of his library, reveals a Bonfire of the Damned. Bonfire of the Damned, if those of you who don't know, is if you miracle it, which is the first card you draw on a turn, you get to pay an alternate cheaper cost. So it was at the time X and a red, right? So you get to pay, and it deals damage to each creature and each player. So he top decks it, reveals it, looks at the board, realizes that he has 7 lands, casts it for 6, deals 6 damage to my Phyrexian Obliterator and me, puts me to 3, sacks 6 permanents, including the Strangleroot Geist. Phyrexian Obliterator's dead. Strangleroot Geist, Undying, comes back in as a 3/2 with haste and finishes me off. It was the top deck hero moment of my life. I've not seen anything like it since.
It was like
absolutely. It was. I think it was the final round for F&M too. Like that was for the final seat. That was for first place. That's my story. That's my favorite Magic story ever.
That's such like a sick way to win the game. Like just
top deck
miracle. Like reveal it.
Part of the cards just reveals it. Like, wait a minute. See him doing the math, the calculations in his brain. I can count to 7. Holy shit, you're dead.
That's so funny.
But yeah, that's my story.
That's a good one. But yeah, so that's a new segment we thought we'd try. Bergie. We're Bergie's Corner. We're all the gods of storytelling. It's kind of a better way for you guys as the listeners to get to learn a little bit about us.
I think we should do it again.
Yeah, it was fun.
This was a good
That
one.
was fun. So now to move to our cleanup step. Once again, we want to shout out all of our high-tier patrons. Thank you to Usable Object, Cold Ramen, and Geo Justin, respectively. Support from our patrons has been absolutely amazing, and it's helping us to continue to produce this content weekly. Make sure you follow us on Twitter for all of our channel news, updates, giveaways, and collaborations. The link for that will be in the description. Also, please join our Discord below. We finally have passed the 100 member mark, which is amazing for our community. And to celebrate, we're going to have our first Discord giveaway. We're going to give away Double Masters 2022 to our Discord members, raffling off collector boosters to patrons, and and draft boosters to all other members. To be eligible for our giveaway and find more information, join our Discord below, and thanks again to the support. And finally, whether you're listening on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts, please like, subscribe, leave a comment, drop us a review, or share us with your friends. It really helps growing our channel and gives us the ability to work with new people and reach new audiences. And with that, we will end this episode. So thank you for listening, and we'll see you next week.
And we'll see you for the giveaway, hopefully.
Yep. Peace out.
See ya.
Guys.